David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on a Tuesday with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
It's going fine. You can see that I'm wearing my special Tyrannosaurus t-shirt that I made.
Yeah, well, you know why they went extinct, right?
No, why did they go extinct?
Because there was a COVID outbreak and they couldn't put on their mask because their arms were too short.
Well, sure, yeah. I thought it was a comet or an asteroid, but who knows?
No, I saw somebody did a comic strip on how it really happened.
Little tiny arms, yeah.
Yeah, and they couldn't reach up and put on a mask. They were trying to ask other dinosaurs to help them get their mask on.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyways, let's see here.
By the way, there is a reason I'm wearing this, is because this launches an augmented reality projection of a dinosaur, but I won't bother you with that today. I'll make a video at some point.
When Bill and I talk EVs, see, most people when they talk EVs, they think we're talking cars, but for Bill and I, it's usually aircraft.
Oh, it's aircraft.
Yeah.
Today it's augmented reality.
There you go. So the U.S. Navy, in partnership with Sky Dweller Aero, achieved a continuous solar-powered uncrewed flight during a nonstop 3-day test from Stennis, Mississippi. Interesting. I'm doing a real estate development right beside this base.
Well, no kidding.
Yeah. That's a NASA facility. So, led by the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, the test of Sky Dweller UAS marked a significant advancement of both long-endurance solar-powered UAS technology and its potential to enhance maritime intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The demonstration is a prime example of how, let's call it NAWCAD, NAWCAD partners with technology to deliver what the fleet needs. It was a 73-hour flight.
Yep.
It proved Sky Dweller's ability to maintain continuous solar-powered operation.
Even at night.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing because maybe it flew high enough that the planet.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, that'd have to be pretty dang high. I think that's sort of stationary orbit about 12,000 miles out or something.
Be interesting to see what the altitude was, but I bet they don't publish that. That may be classified.
It probably would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Although, we had a guy in Switzerland who took his solar-powered sailplane up to 30,000 feet.
Yeah, we talked about that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we know it could get to that altitude, and because it's unmanned, it wouldn't have to have oxygen on board. I'm trying to think. I don't think the solar impulse. I think they probably stayed in the $15,000 to $25,000 altitude range when they went. I mean, we've had this technology for a decade now. In fact, you can go back and look at the guys at AeroVironment and Paul McCready and the work that they did. Actually doing this for NASA, where they had these long-range solar-powered aircraft for communication and things of that nature. So it would make sense that the Navy would look at something like this.
No, it seems like a pretty ingenious idea here. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen here. The Sky Dweller.
In fact, it looks an awful lot like the solar impulse. I'm just wondering if they borrowed some of that technology from the Swiss-French project, the solar impulse from, a decade ago now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's similar or learned from it. I mean, look at how long these wings are. It's the same wingspan as a 747.
Well, you have to have that because that's all lined with solar panels on top.
Yeah. Looks like it has 2 electric motors on each wing.
Again, that's the same configuration solar impulse. This looks like they borrowed a lot of technology from from Boschberg and Picard's Solar Impulse project.
Let me see. The solar-powered aircraft used by the Navy for the test flight is the Solar Impulse 2, which the company described as the first solar-powered aircraft to circumnavigate the globe. 72-meter, 236-foot wingspan.
So that is the Solar Impulse 2.
Yes.
I didn't look, when I posted that, I didn't have a chance to look over the story very closely. Yep.
It's capable of carrying 800 pounds of payload and is capable of staying aloft for 30 to 90 days or longer. Wow.
Well, yeah,
800 pounds of payload. What could that be?
Whatever you want it to be.
What would the military put in a
whatever you would want it to be. You want it to track, whale movements. You could do that. You wanted it to track submarines. You could do that. So.
800 pounds isn't a bad payload. Let's see here.
That's interesting. So they bought that from the Solar Impulse project. Interesting, which makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here what we got for you. Have this article. You want to talk about the infinite growth of highways.
Yeah. So basically what this is about is that a guy named Eric Guerra, I think it's probably
Guerra,
something like that. Yeah. Specializes in studying congestion and traffic and highway development, things like that. And basically, he just confirmed what we pretty well already know, is that there's no way you can ever build enough highway, right? Everybody says, well, there's too much congestion. Let's build another highway, or let's widen the road, right? And that'll relieve congestion. And it does for maybe 16 months. You take your pick. And then we're back to the same problem. So it's called, I think it's called induced demand or some term like that. And so we're never really ever able to build enough highway. And that's the point of the book. In fact, the book is called Overbuilt. And of course, what happens is the more infrastructure you build, the more you have to maintain. And so that then puts a financial strains on the communities. So it's a treadmill that once you get on, you can't get off unless you're willing to make serious changes in how people move and goods move, right? So you begin to encourage people, instead of sitting in a car that's 6 feet wide and 20 feet long with one person in one seat, you put one person on a tiny little seat on a thing that's maybe 3 foot long and 1 foot wide. And weighs 50, 60 pounds, as opposed to something that weighs 4 tons or 2 tons or whatever. So then you can begin to make some serious dent in the transportation problem. But as long as we're on this treadmill, there ain't no getting off of it.
I get that. You think about if you were going westbound on I-80 in Omaha, from say downtown, and you go past 72nd and 84th to where the highway splits, and you have 680 going north, and you have I-80 continuing west. You have 5 or 6 lanes there. Yep. And invariably what happens in the afternoon is traffic comes to a halt because people are trying to get from the right to the left and they can't get over, and so traffic just comes to a complete stop. Sometimes because people just can't seem to change lanes. And it's such a hassle. There just isn't enough run up, I guess, for people to change lanes. Although I don't know where those people are, if they're coming from the 84th exit or whatever. But
yeah, but even there, even there, well, it depends on the time of day. You got trucks barreling along and, commuters wanting to head home or whatever. I mean, here, after we're done with this podcast, I'm going to be crossing that particular intersection here later today. So quite familiar with it.
I'm just saying, even if you added more lanes, it wouldn't solve the problem.
Wouldn't solve it. Nope.
No. So that's not always the situation.
So you have to start thinking outside that steel box we all take for granted, and we all have to own in our driveway or in the parking spot in front of our apartment. Start looking for ways that we don't have to use that. We've got electric motorcycles now, electric assist scooters. I'm starting to see more adults riding around on these stand-up scooters, like Lime has and
Right.
Some of those share companies. They're starting to see them. That's what they're using to get around the community, which I think is fabulous. So we just we can't build enough roads. We need to start thinking about. Of course, the problem is you go to the Netherlands, and they got a problem with too many bikes.
Yeah, not enough road, right?
So there's not enough road, and you end up every year they have to dredge the canals in the Netherlands, and they pull up hundreds, if not thousands, of bicycles that have been thrown into those canals.
That is so weird that there's all those bikes in the canals.
It is. It's just weird. Yeah.
So this article, well, it doesn't say what the time span is. It says the average time spent in traffic per car increased from 29 hours in 91 to 54 hours in 2019. I can only assume that 29 hours is per month, but 54 hours in a month of sitting in your car in traffic would seem like an awful lot. Of course, we live in Omaha. Even when it's busy, you're talking 25 minutes to get just about anywhere in Omaha. Yeah. Just because the road networks are pretty smooth here. But there still are some points, though, like I'm saying, where all of a sudden
there's choke points. Yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly some choke points, and that gets kind of weird sometimes as to how that is. I think flying cars are gonna, all the EV tolls and all that, they're gonna start ticking some off of this.
Interestingly, at our EAA meeting last week,
mm-hmm.
a gentleman on that is actually designing and wanting to build his flying car.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and he gave about 45-minute talk, via Zoom to our Experimental Aircraft Association chapter about that particular project of his.
Oh, I'm sure that was entertaining. I mean, I look at all of the single seat ones, single seat, 2-seat, and if we think about eVTOLs, we usually think about Joby and Archer with their 5-seaters.
Right.
Generally. But that's a commercial pilot with the others. And the others are just like, the Chinese ones, it's like, looks like somebody's sitting on a jet ski, but it's just a quadcopter.
Yeah, just a quadcopter. Well, there's, they have had their very first autonomous operation certified. So you don't even need a pilot. You just get in it and you tell it, I want to go somewhere, kind of like, I guess what you do with Tuber.
Yeah.
And you just tell it, hey, I need to go to this airport, or I need to go to this vertiport. I think we're calling them vertiports now. And get in it, lifts off, gets whatever traffic clearance it has to get. Probably all of that's automated. And, 20 minutes later, you're landing at this vertiport, which would have taken you 3-4 times as long to go there by normal surface traffic.
Man, I'm reading our new stock ticker, and man, everything's just getting hammered today.
Yeah, I noticed I got my crypto running over here, and it was pretty good this morning, and I turned it on down here to look at it. And, holy crap, what happened?
The only one that's positive is Ford. It's interesting because NVIDIA and AMD and Microsoft are all down, and they're all in the AI space. And then I've got some nuclear stocks on there, and they're all taking a beating. I got sent on yesterday. Nano went down 11%, which, to be fair, in the nuclear space, you sometimes will see in a single day, you see somebody take a 30% jump. So somebody going 10% down, that's kind of to be expected too. But Nano's
wow,
down
almost
6.88,
7%.
almost 7%
Yeah,
today after
yeah.
they were down 11% yesterday. Motley Fool had a really abusive article about them that they think they're going to drop from like 30 something bucks to $9.
Ouch.
Yeah. Well, it could happen. It could
Yeah.
happen. There's just been a lot of excitement in the nuclear space this year. And so it's been
Well,
interesting to see.
I shared with you an article this morning, right, on the Google doing the deal with, I forget the name of the company now, but they're doing small modular reactor deal to power their data centers.
Well, aren't they doing the one with Constellation?
No, this one is with a company I sent you, Carios, something like that. And
okay.
Remember the one I looked it up, said, well, that sounds like I've heard that term before. It's Greek mythology or something. Turns out it's like the youngest son of Zeus.
Kairos.
Kairos, yeah. Whose older brother was Kronos, right? And Kairos is sort of the guy that is the take advantage of the situation, carpe diem, right? Of Greek, pantheon. So he's the guy, take advantage of the opportunity when the opportunity presents itself, which I thought was kind of an interesting name to pick for the company.
Yeah, it is. Well, I know that Kairos got a permit to start building a building for nuclear reactors, but they still don't have the license to make nuclear reactors. So
maybe Google's throwing some money their way.
That whole space is, it's all high tech. It's going to be interesting to see where that all shakes out in a few years. Yeah. So we're definitely going to see a lot of the small modular reactors, which, like I said before, it's just like a lot of stuff with the EVs. People don't know much about it. So your average person on the street has no idea what we're talking about. We start talking about that topic. So let's see. That was the article on congestion. Well, we had one nuclear article today. So nuclear alchemy, turning waste into wonder fuel. In the basement labs, the Los Alamos National Laboratory, a nuclear physicist, Terence Tarnowski, is wrestling with what may be the most elegant paradox in modern energy science. On one side sits nuclear fusion, and on the other side lies a mountain of radioactive waste, deadly remnants of 70 years of nuclear fission, waiting for the future generation to figure out what to do with them. Now, this is one of the interesting things, because fusion allows you to create tritium. And so the idea is that you would use
tritium is the feedstock for the fusion process.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say what he's working on is a way to take nuclear waste that we have in the form of the fuel rods, of which there are hundreds of tons of, and be able to run that through. And I don't understand it all because I don't have a degree in nuclear physics, but to take that and use laser pulses or something other anyway, and mix that with molten lithium salt. And in the process, you then end up generating tritium, which up until this point, you can only get from, I think it's the CANDU reactors in Canada. And it's you know how much that stuff costs?
Oh, it's millions of dollars.
$33 million a kilogram.
Yes.
So if you can obviously find a way to make it cheaper, and apparently what he's come up with is a way to generate 10 times, in theory, what we would need to create for the tritium that we would need to run these fusion reactors. $33 billion. No, sorry, $million. $33 million a kilogram.
So, but your fusion reactors can create fuel for fission reactors, and your fission reactors can create fuel for the fusion reactors.
When it's processed.
Right. Yeah. It's not directly. There's other steps in the process.
Right. Yeah. There's a process that he theorizes, and they're working on at Los Alamos to be able to do that. And we talk about it in the article, and we provide links. Again, this is all part of this new section that we've created that are basically AI generated articles. I go in and I say, look, here's this article. Help me understand it, and any other sources that you can bring in to clarify and amplify the story for me, please do that. And then it does its magic, and then that's what materializing that particular article.
So this is kind of interesting. So there's only 10 kilograms of tritium on the planet.
Yep.
And so that's 22 pounds.
Right.
That's not a whole lot of.
And most of that, I think, pretty much that comes from you have to buy it from the reactors in Canada. I mean, I think his comments in there that we would use up one fusion reactor would use up 55 kilograms of tritium annually.
So we only have 10.
And we only have 10.
Yeah, so this is good information. This is stuff I didn't know about.
Yeah,
fusion.
I thought you'd enjoy it, and I know I enjoy it.
No, this is good information.
I'm working with AI to put it all together.
Yeah, it's worth more.
My job is really getting more interesting as time goes along.
Yeah, it's more expensive than weapons grade plutonium.
Yep.
Every fusion experiment, every research reactor, every promising step toward commercial fusion power consumes this irreplaceable resource. And its 12-year half-life means that even if we could stockpile it, half would decay into useless helium-3 before we could build the reactors to burn it.
Yep.
The scarcity is becoming critical. Global civilian tritium stores amount to just 25 kilograms. Okay, so now I'm confused because we had 10 kilograms before. Now we have 25, mostly extracted from the CANDUs. A single commercial fusion plant would consume 55 kilograms per year. At current consumption rates, we're heading toward a tritium famine just as fusion technology matures enough to save the climate. Nuclear waste, by contrast, exists in embarrassing abundance. Now, as I've said before, if we were doing what they're doing in France, we'd only have 1/4 as much nuclear waste. That doesn't make it zero.
Go over to the backlog article that I derived this from and read the comments of the people following that article.
Are they talking about France?
Yeah, they are.
That wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. It's just, I look at, some of the things as I've gotten deeper into the nuclear space, and it's really amazing to see. I mean, I learned new stuff like what the potential of some things, but in the United States, every one of your reactors just buries the nuclear waste in the yard. And because there was supposed to be a nuclear repository at Yucca Mountain, and that just never happened.
No.
But
no. They wanted to bury some of it here in Nebraska.
Yeah, why not? Nobody lives here.
Well, nobody lives here. Only thing is, you got this thing called the Ogallala Aquifer.
No,
right?
I get it. So there's this precious resource called scandium, which there's a mine down you know where Peru State or whatever is? I can't think of the name of the town there.
Yeah,
but
I know what you're referring to.
There's a scandium mine there that hasn't operated since 1963, and it just got some big grant from the federal government. And apparently, I'm not even sure what it's used for, but it's another critical mineral that there's not many places in the world where it exists. It just happens to exist in Nebraska. Yeah,
it's a one of those rare minerals we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Anyways, tritium's properties make it essential for fusion and incredibly difficult to manage. Unlike ordinary hydrogen, tritium is radioactive and decays rapidly. Also behaves like molecular hydrogen, meaning it can leak through seemingly solid materials and become embedded in reactor walls. It's a tricky fuel to deal with. Yeah, this is one of the things why they keep, they always talk about fusion is only a couple decades away.
25 years away, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's been some significant. Somebody got a power purchase agreement for fusion already. Okay, so somebody's issued a contract to buy fusion energy, which still they haven't figured out quite how to make it.
Nobody's doing it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So my understanding is it still takes more energy to create the fusion reaction
Right.
than it kicks
You're getting
back
out. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting to see, and at some point, to do something. If nothing else, it's a great use of nuclear waste, right? So, I think that's a good thing. All right, let's talk about the Gone with the Wind article. Ordinances in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi discourage investments in renewables. Some of it is just like downright, something like 1/3 of those states have local ordinances that against wind turbines. And now I will say this: those aren't the windiest states in the country by any stretch.
No.
Okay, only in a windstorm or like a rainstorm do they really get wind. So they probably don't need wind, but some of this is carrying over to solar. And I've had people complain about how solar looks, and it's like, really, you really care how that solar looks? I mean, solar panels at most are what, 12 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet at most when they're out in the field. I mean, they're not really.
Oh yeah. Well, you can graze cattle, underneath them if you want, or flocks of sheep.
Right. Yeah. 1 in 5 U.S. counties now restrict or ban the development of new wind and solar power.
I wonder where that's coming from.
Yeah. It's stalling clean energy and driving up costs for utility ratepayers. That's kind of nuts. Choose smart siting or inadvertently choke off billions in investment, landowner income, and their own local tax revenue. Arkansas passed the Wind Energy Development Act, which praises wind energy, but pairs it with some of the strictest regulations, effectively halting new development.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about some of this stuff. It's like the whole NEVI thing. It's like, well, the idea is to put out more charging stations. We're going to make it super hard to do it. I sometimes I question how much of this stuff is people trying to make sure they have a job, or like in the case of Arkansas, they're probably trying to make sure some people earn a living getting paid to say it's okay, to authorize the projects. There are projects
a little under the table bakshish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There is a wind project in Mississippi that's been operational for over a year. There are a dozen utility scale wind projects being evaluated across those three states, signaling a shift in the South's energy landscape. I mean, obviously, solar should work really well down there.
Well, they don't have to worry about snow getting on their collectors down there.
Let's see. So an organization that's called the American Clean Power Association, their model wind ordinance proposes voluntary participation with clear setbacks, outputs, and empower landowners. Science-based standards, noise and flicker limits protect neighbors without imposing arbitrary bans. FAA verified safety, turbine height, and lighting standards keep aviation safe and nuisance low. Responsible decommissioning. Financial safeguards ensure turbines are removed or repowered at the end of their useful life.
That's
clear, predictable permitting. Well, I don't know what's supposed to be the useful life of a wind turbine.
It's about 20, 25 years, about like this.
Okay. Some of that stuff just gets carried away.
Well, yeah, no, and what you've read there, I don't necessarily have any problems with. I think that's important that we have that. We don't want the landscape littered with, collapsed towers rusting away. And, I just posted an article today about the orphaned oil wells around Pennsylvania. and how they're a problem for the people in Pennsylvania, because guys, came in and drilled for oil and gas and extracted what they want and took the money and maybe paid some local taxes, whatever that was, and left the hole in the ground and walked away. So, I think we need to, things need to be done responsibly. You want to do mountaintop coal removal? Fine. Do what you want, then restore that land. Now, I'm not saying rebuild the mountain, but at least make an effort to make that land productive and useful, useful again, or let it just simply get reforested, at some point, several decades down the line. But at least think about, the impact that you're going to have with, with whatever mining project, whatever energy project you're putting in. So I'm good with that. But if you're doing it just simply to make it harder for a company to provide clean, safe, renewable energy at a lower price, then I do have an issue with that.
All right. Let's look then at the coal article. So coal is linked to cancer, not wind power. Well, I didn't think there was any coal in wind power.
What?
That was, yeah, so confusing, isn't it? Yes. So an article published by Duke University about coal plants explains documented health risks from exposures to the pollutants include premature deaths, cardiovascular diseases, lung cancer, low birth weights, higher risk of developmental and behavior disorders in infants and children, and higher infant mortality. Well, we've had a decline because it's not new that people have far higher death rates where they near coal-fired power
or downwind of a coal plant. Yep.
Yeah, and so we've had huge reductions since, say, 1990. Maybe even longer than that. Might be even 40 years going back that we've known this about coal. It's just we're down to 18% of U.S. electricity generation is still coal-powered. Still hear this all the time, that, your EV's powered by coal. It's like, well, no, not in the United States.
If you're going to point a finger, point it at natural gas. That's going to be the big one.
Yep. Right now, natural gas is at like 40%.
Yep.
And then you still got 20% renewables and about 20% nuclear in the United States. So you got, other things besides LNG and coal, but coal has obviously been linked with lung cancer more than anything. And I don't know. I don't know how much longer we're going to really have coal around in the United States. So, I mean, it just seems unfeasible.
I just saw an article today that the AI, revolution that's taking place with, all of the data centers and things like that has reinvigorated, some words to that effect, the coal industry, because they're having to fire, because you want more steady power coming into those plants, and that big pile of coal sitting outside the generator plant is one way to do that. Maybe not the smartest, certainly not the healthiest, but that's one way to guarantee that. So, some areas it's helping revive the coal industry, but generally, we're moving on.
So Central Appalachian coal miners born in 1940, the same year as Chuck Norris, by the way. That's the year Chuck Norris was born. Had 8 times the odds of dying from a non-malignant respiratory disease such as black lung or COPD than their counterparts in the general population.
And by the way, I lived there for 5.5 years.
Let's see. Yeah, it's just, it's well known, the problems. I understand there's part of the U.S. population relies on coal mining and stuff like that in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, but I don't know what
Tennessee,
you do about
that. Down into Alabama, through that Appalachian, that coal belt that runs through the Appalachians.
Yeah. So
Although
I mean,
less so. I was watching the other day a YouTube video of a guy who just does travel logs, and he travel log. I'm going to take you into eastern Kentucky and southern West Virginia, and took us through some of the towns I used to go through when I lived and worked down there. And that area is a ghost town. That whole area is kind of a ghost town now. It's sad population. Many of those little towns and communities are populated predominantly women. The men have, I would imagine they're probably widows of former coal miners that they can't afford to live anywhere else but the home that they bought 40 years ago. Pretty sad to see that.
All right. So for the last thing I wanted to cover the list of EV deals where battery range is starting to become quite affordable. This is kind of interesting to see. So let's start.
Is this the chart that I got the AI to build for me?
No. No, this is from Forbes. This is a Forbes article. Oh.
Okay.
Hyundai Ioniq 5, $42,600, gets 245 miles of range. That one, seems decent. The next one, the Busy Forks by Toyota, only 37,000, gets 252 miles. That's a little bit more. The Kia Niro gets one more mile at 253 for 39.6. The Mustang Mach-E at about 38,000 gets 260 miles. I thought they probably have a version that gets higher than that, though, don't they? They do have an extended trim that can get 320, but doesn't say how much more that is. Now, the Volvo EX30, this was supposed to be our $35,000 Volvo SUV. It's $45,000. And it gets 261 miles. That was supposed to be such a year or so ago, and we were waiting for the arrival of that. It was supposed to be such a huge deal because they were going to be $35,000 and they're $45,000. The 10,000 makes a big difference. The Lexus RZ is $44,000, gets 266 miles of range. And it's one of the in their opinion from Forbes, it's one of the most luxurious SUV, or it's an SUV, but it's one of the most luxurious of the EVs that are in this more affordable price range. Let me see. The Chevy Blazer, 44.6, 283 miles on a charge. The Equinox gets 300. Now we're getting up over 300 miles now. The Chevy Equinox for 33,600 gets 319 miles on a charge. That's pretty damn good. The Model Y for $37,000 gets 357 miles on a charge. Not much higher price than the Equinox. And the number one is the Model 3 at $35,000, gets 363 miles on a charge. They're releasing it in China now where it gets 500 miles on a charge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was really surprising to see
the YL model.
I was thinking it was the Model 3, or was it a Y?
Well, they've got one they just introduced called the YL model, but I don't know really the specifics on it. What I did, the vehicles you mentioned, I did in fact, and I'm trying to find the chart. For some reason I can't find it on my own website. It's probably a little deeper in my in the list here. What I did was I asked the AI, I said, okay, here are the models. Here's the prices of them. Here's the range. Rank them by the best way to describe this would be bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which one would give you for the best investment, gives you the most mileage, and the one that came out on top is the Model 3.
Well, and I was looking here, it's also on the Model 3 for lease deals. You can get a Model 3 $300 a month for 2 years with 3,000 due at signing. That's a pretty good deal on the lease. $300 a month. I'm looking to see, because they give some data on that for some other vehicles. Nothing else really comes close. Oh, that's not entirely true. There's a deal on the Kia Niro for $149 a month for 24 months.
Yeah,
but it's for $4,000 up front. The thing is that basically adds about another $180, but that is cheaper than the Tesla deal.
Yeah, there's a story that, again, I post stories, some I read, some I just post and move on. And it said that there are some deals out there now for you can lease for $100 a month.
Oh, wow. Is that like in Colorado or California or something like that?
Again, I don't know, because I was busy working on, here it is. If you go down and you scroll down on the editor's pick, and you go down below the Ben and Jerry's van,
yeah,
you'll see there's an article there about 10 hot electric vehicle deals.
Oh, okay.
And I had it.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I had it build the chart based on what's the best, or the lowest mileage, the lowest cost you can pay to get the most amount of mileage. And it lists them there. So you got the Model 3, the Model Y, the Chevy Equinox, the Mustang, and so on. So you go down. The most expensive is the Lexus RZ. So that works out to be $165.77 per mile, whereas the Tesla is $96.38 per mile.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's some real range though on that Model 3.
Yeah,
they're really starting to outdo themselves. Be interested to see if we get the 500-mile version here in the U.S. anytime soon. I know that's running Chinese batteries, so
yeah.
There's something to that. Anyways, that was all I wanted to cover for today, folks.
Okay, and there's lots more that we haven't begun to touch on. If you go over and explore the evworld.com website again, check under that tab that says News Stocks and see AI generated reports. That's where I'm personally having the most fun, because I'm taking stories and challenging the AI and saying, give me back a report on this, and it gives me some really good information with a lot of valuable links to other sources that you might not get otherwise. So.
All right. Anyways, folks, thanks for chiming in, and I'll be back with Mike Herzog tomorrow and Bill on Thursday.